seeds are planted, let them yield a harvest. When the crops are gathered, let the earth find rest.
Well, we're on our second day looking at harvest together. I have two boys, but my youngest, Isaac, seems to particularly enjoy growing things in the garden. He loves the digging, he loves the planting, will often help out, loves the watering. He's not so good at the waiting, and he'll often be seen quite early in the season holding out a small green tomato with great pride. But there's great joy for him when finally we can harvest the produce, when he can be let loose on pulling up the proper sized carrots and picking armfuls of beans. And he tends to waddle up the garden with his armful of produce, looking very pleased with himself and very happy. Harvest time in the cultures that our scriptures are speaking into was the culmination of lots of time and work and effort and hope. It was the time of celebration after the long months of cultivating and worrying over crops. When that was all over, when the fruit of the labours could be seen. This moment of bringing the harvest in was what people had worked for. And so it was a time for looking back over what had been done, pausing and reflecting, but then celebrating. Now, in our time, in our culture, when shops don't tend to stock seasonally, and we can normally get what we want all year round, we don't have that same moment of gathering in what we've spent so much of our time investing in. And of course, as we're all involved in so many different and diverse industries, whether it's manufacturing or service or healthcare or teaching or volunteering or caring for our families at home, well, there is no universal time for us to stop and celebrate the completion of our projects and our efforts. Harvest time, perhaps in the most part for us, seems a little irrelevant. Well, we're going to read something that God says through Moses in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 9 to 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verses 9 to 16. God says this through Moses. Count off 7 weeks from the time you began to put the sickle to the standing grain. Then celebrate the festival of weeks to the Lord your God by giving a free will offering in proportion to the blessings the Lord God has given you. And rejoice before the Lord your God at that place he will choose as a dwelling for his name. You, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, the Levites in your towns, the foreigners, the fatherless and the widows that live among you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and follow carefully these decrees. Celebrate the festival of tabernacles for 7 days after you have gathered the produce of your threshing floor and your winepress. Be joyful at your festival. You, your sons and daughters, your male and female servants, and the Levites, and the foreigners, the fatherless, and the widows who live in your towns. For 7 days celebrate the festival to the Lord your God at the place the Lord will choose. For the Lord your God will bless you in all your harvest and in all the work of your hands, and your joy will be complete. 3 times a year, all your men must appear before the Lord your God at the place he will choose. At the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of weeks, and the festival of tabernacles. No one should appear before the Lord empty-handed. Each of you must bring a gift in proportion to the way the Lord your God has blessed you. So as Moses and the people are preparing for the time when they will live in the land of milk and honey, when they will farm and then they will harvest, God sets up 3 festivals for them. Unleavened bread, which is Passover, that chance to look back on God's rescuing work in bringing them out of slavery. And then there's 2 harvest-focused festivals, the festivals of weeks and tabernacles. The purpose of all these festivals was to get the people of God to stop out of their ordinary lives and to reflect on how God has blessed them. It was also there so that they could bring gifts according to how God has blessed them. But it was also there, and this is really important, to give them chance to celebrate, to look back and celebrate. What was it? 7 days worth of festival, 7 days worth of celebrating. God here ordains celebration and joy to be a central part of these festivals. God wanted the whole community to come together to celebrate, to be joyful at the produce of the work of their hands, and of course the provision and the partnership of God. As I said earlier, for most of us, the agricultural focus of harvest really doesn't feel that relevant. What we eat and buy is no longer so connected to the seasons. But we are all made in the image of God. And so therefore we all create, we all produce, we all work. Some of us are paid for this, but others do this in a very important voluntary capacity. Some of us are serving in our homes. Nevertheless, all of this is what God has ordained for us to do, called us to do. And just as God in creation worked for 6 days and each day stopped and paused and looked back and was able to say about the work of his hands that it was good, so we here at these festivals are particularly encouraged to stop, to look back, to recognise the struggle, the worry, the effort, the sacrifice, the creativity that we've poured into our works, efforts and labours, and to stop and to be able to look back and say, it was good, it is good, and look and celebrate the finished article. God has blessed us with skills. God has blessed us with opportunity for fruitfulness in so many different ways. And so he longs that when we look back at a job, we can look back and say, that was well done. And then we can come to a time of celebration and a time of joy. So let's take a moment today to pause, to look back over what we've done, what we've produced, what we've made, what we've contributed towards through our efforts, our work, our volunteering, our caring, our service. Let's look back and thank God for the fruit that we have produced in our lives. Let's also thank God for all those he's provided to work alongside us. Perhaps this harvest time will give us a chance to do that. And let us at this time consider how we could build a rhythm into our own lives, allowing us to stop and look back, reflect and celebrate what we're doing in our lives as people made in the image of God. Celebrating what we produce in our partnership with God, our Father. May God bless us this day. Amen.
We are the tenants of the King. We are